So I just finished watching the 5th episode of Star Wars Skeleton Crew. You have a lot to learn about pirates. So if you want to see my spoiler-free review, it will be linked in the cards. But let's jump right on into this episode. So the episode picks up where they left off last, and they basically have SM-33 restrained, so that way when they reactivate him, hopefully he wasn't going to go crazy, but thankfully his memory has now been cleared and all that, so everything's hunky-dory, hopefully. But anyhow, while SM-33 doesn't have the coordinates to add in his databanks, he does know that his former captain would have had those coordinates saved somewhere in his pirate lair. We learn a lot about SM-33's previous captain in this episode, basically a pirate of legend who mysteriously vanished. We learn what happened at SM-33. Basically, the crew mutinied and all that, and crashed on that, and then everyone died. Pretty much is what happened, except for SM-33. They decide to go to the captain's lair, and, well, it turns out the planet is no longer a lair. Nope, it's now a pleasure resort. So yeah, so basically they con their way in and all that, and eventually come to the lair, which has a bunch of treasure, a lightsaber, booby traps, all that stuff. But they do find it, they find the coordinates up, but also the SM-33's previous captain's log, which reveals what was going on that island. It's a mint. At and probably the other Jewels of the Republic were mints for the old Republic. That's pretty much the answer to the mystery. There is still the question of the mystery of why are they cut off. That still needs to be answered. I think that has something to do with pirates and that, or something like that. That's why they've been cut off and have no idea what's gone on in the galaxy the past hundreds of years, probably. Maybe not that long, but long enough that the plan has passed into memory. We still don't know the exact cause, and the barrier is obviously a security measure. But George, well, guess what? He decides to take this opportunity to betray the kids. This was something that was always in the back of my head, and does kind of fit in line a little bit with Long John Silver's character from Treasure Island. While he does grow a fondness for Jim, he still is ultimately a pirate. At the end of it, especially up at Treasure Island, he does take some treasure and depart. So even if Long John Silver was an inspiration for Jod, like I expected, then that kind of fits. They may have just mix and match and all that to try to tell a new, different story. But one thing to note is he invokes an old pirate tradition of challenging a captain, so one-on-one, hand-to-hand combat, and Fern does lose. But the thing is, before Fern decides to, attempt to defend herself, Jod was pleading for her to yield, to give up, not to fight to the death. So either that's because they're children, or maybe he is starting to grow fond of them. But the conflict of his greed and his desire for the treasure versus his growing fondness of the kids, which I do think is evident. Because there's a scene early on in the episode when SM-33 is relating basically what happened to his previous captain. Wim goes off, to a back room on the ship, which we find learn its name Alcinder. We knew that, but it hadn't been stated in the show yet. But he goes there, and John notices and follows him, and Wim's crying. He's overwhelmed. He had been wanting a real adventure, and it's way more than he bargained for. But John gives him some advice. Maybe not the best advice to, forget about, his family and all that. Probably not the best, but he mentions their attachments. I'm thinking John may have been at least briefly trained, at least in Jedi teachings, because he does have the Force, without a doubt. He even has said some stuff that I'm not sure if Jedi say, Sith say, or both say it, but relating to using the Force. So the Sith definitely rely on their attachments a bit more. Because what John doesn't realize is he has an attachment to his greed, and he's definitely growing a small attachment for these kids that could change how he acts later on. But yeah, he does betray them. But there was a lightsaber in the lair, which Jar takes at the very end. Wim did try to use it, but he didn't know what he was doing, had the lightsaber upside down. Oopsie. Thankfully he didn't get hurt, but startled him, and yeah. But Jar takes it at the very end. So there's some interesting stuff going on here. And the kids do, because with the challenge and all that, now SM-33 is loyal to John. Well, Wim springs one of the booby traps on purpose. So that gives them an opportunity. I do wonder how things will go, but the fact that there was a lightsaber in that old pirate captain's lair, the fact that George clearly knows something of Force teachings, including the Jedi rule against attachments, I'm almost wondering, because that lightsaber maybe reawakened something in him, some compassion. I don't know. I'm just wildly speculating. But there's some interesting nuggets that I'm curious how word develops. There's clearly, though, one thing's for sure about John, wherever he goes, he makes enemies. Like, literally. I don't think there's one episode so far with him where he didn't make a new enemy or ran into an enemy. Except for maybe the last episode, I guess. But the kids definitely grew their distrust of him. Though they did meet somebody who, all they had to do was tell him a good story and he helped them. One of the creatures, or one of the guests on the Pleasure Planet. So yeah, he helped them. But it's very interesting. It is very interesting all the different characters, and Skeleton Crew is definitely showing us the underbelly of Star Wars in a way we haven't really seen before. It's going to be interesting to see how all this develops, how character motivations grow for all that, because I definitely think there's a chance that one of the kids will learn to harness the Force. Wim is the most obvious choice, but it could be one of the other kids. We don't know, and we'll only find out by the way the story progresses. I can't really wait to see the next episode. There's not too much to say besides hopefully this is coming out on the 26th like I somewhat intended. Again, holidays have made this video recording a little more difficult, but if it is coming out on Boxing Day, well, happy Boxing Day to all the Brits watching this. But to everyone, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and may the Force be with you. And also, let me know what you thought of this episode in the comment section down below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you, always.